Hi, I'm Brian Trenchard-Smith. This is Trailers from Hell. Australia, like America, has not always had the best relations with its indigenous population. Between 1909 and 1970, the Australian government operated a policy known as the Aboriginal Protection Act, where mixed-race Aboriginal children were forcibly taken away from their mothers and raised by church institutions, denied access to their native culture, and trained to become agricultural or domestic servants. Philip Noyce made a powerful movie on this subject with his Rabbit-Proof Fence in 2001. But 46 years earlier, another film debated the core issue of assimilation. It was the last movie made by Australian cinema pioneers Charles and Elsa Chevelle, whose career stretched back to the silent era. JEDDA was a 5-year labour of love. The first Australian film to be shot in 35mm colour, the first to be nominated for the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, and the first to star Indigenous actors. The film is at times wincingly patronising, but accurately reflects the social attitudes of the early 1950s. I've been showing these stills because the only copy of the trailer available is in black and white. The trailer undermines the qualities of JEDDA by emphasizing the sensational. In fact, the movie is based on true events and feels like a thesis play staged amid spectacular scenery. It was intended as a serious examination of the welfare of biracial children in rural communities, presenting both sides of the debate. The mother who adopts JEDDA as a baby favors assimilation. Her husband believes in the separation of the races and blood being the determining factor in behavior. JEDDA is played by Nala Kunoth of the Arunta tribe, recruited from an inland mission station. She subsequently gave up acting, became a nun for 10 years, then returned to her homeland as an environmental activist. The Chevelles' casting coup was the charismatic Robert Tadawali as the renegade Aborigine Marbuk. Those tribal scars are real, and his performance is sensational. Sadly, he had the same difficulty adjusting to the modern world as the character he played, suffering alcoholism, arrests, tuberculosis, and finally death in a fire. The Chevelles shot for 5 months in rugged locations across the Northern Territory. There was no colour laboratory in Australia at that time. They used a French stock, Gabor colour, which had to be flown to London in refrigerated containers to be processed. Heat was a constant danger to the sensitive stock whenever they shot in remote areas. The cans of raw negative were often stored in caves or rivers to keep cool. Just when they had the film in the can, disaster struck. The plane carrying their final days of shooting crashed, destroying the climactic scene. There was no money to go back to the Northern Territory, so with typical ingenuity, the Chevelles reshot the scene in the Blue Mountains outside Sydney, covering grey rocks with yellow ochre paint to match the original location. Regardless of what you think of it politically, JEDDA was a landmark film at a time when Hollywood dominance of Australian cinemas had virtually killed the local industry.